Great! We continue our Journey Through History series with a story from the dawn of Europe. A story not only written in history books, but also told in the greatest myth. This is the story of a civilization of sea kings, palaces without walls, and an island that exploded with the power to change the world. Before the milk of Athens, before the warriors of Sparta, before Achilles and the Trojan War, there existed a civilization so brilliant and advanced that even the ancient Greeks later remembered it only as a myth. A story about a mighty sea king named Minos, a story about a half-crawling monster, the Minotaur, and a story about a great palace where once entered, there was no way out. People thought it was just a myth. Until one day, more than a century ago, an archaeologist dug deep into the ground of Crete and found it. He found a lost world, the first civilization of Europe, the Minoan civilization. Come with me to Crete, into the heart of the labyrinth. Mời các bạn nghe câu chuyện NN Văn minh Minoan, những vị vua biển cả và cơn thịnh nộ của núi lửa. Hello friends, our journey begins here, on the island of Crete, Greece. Here, in the Bronze Age, some 40 years ago, the Minoans built a unique society, an empire not of land, but of sea. I am standing in Knossos, the greatest of the Minoan palaces. When Arthur Evans excavated this place, he was rich. This palace was not a single building, it was a huge, integrated complex, with hundreds of rooms, many floors, many corridors, connected around a large central courtyard. It was like a real palace. It is very possible that the legend of King Minos' labyrinth is the Greeks' distorted memory of the great and impure Knossos. And this is not a dark maze. It is a place of light, color, and sophistication. Look at these paintings. They do not depict war or exact punishment. They depict nature, dolphins dancing on the waves, graceful lilies, women with hair and jewelry so magnificent that they could be nicknamed ladies of Paris. And more surprisingly, the Minoans had advanced plumbing and sanitation. They had baths, and even the first flush toilets in European history, something that even the electricity providers in Paris thousands of years later did not have. But what surprises historians the most when studying the Minoans? It is something we do not find here. There were no successful walls, no defensive tools. Their palaces were built in an expansive manner. This has found a normal thing. The Minoans were not afraid of attack. They were kings of the sea. They built the thalassocracy, a maritime empire. Their merchant fleets could be protected by warships. The Aegean Sea was dominated. They traded with Egypt, with the Near East, bringing back silver, copper, ivory, and also ideas, other cultures. They were rich, powerful, and apparently very peaceful. And they had their own writing system, called Linear A, which was engraved on these clay tablets. But there is a problem. To this day, we have not been able to decipher it. The Minoan language remains a mystery. We can see their world through their paintings, but we cannot hear their voices. However, there is one image, one symbol, that appears everywhere in Minoan art. From figurines to calligraphic letters. It is the bull. The bull was a symbol of strength, of fertility, and was central to their most important and dangerous ritual, the bull jump. Look closely. Young men and women, unarmed, are performing an impossible acrobatic feat. They hold the horns of a charging bull, somersault over its back, and land on the ground behind it. This is a dramatic religious ritual, expressing human comfort and sensitivity to the power of nature. The bull was their symbol of power, but the Minoans were about to face a power greater than any bull, a power that lay dormant just across the sea, a power that was brewing deep within the earth, and when it awoke, it would change their world forever. Part 2. Thera Explosion. Hello everyone, and welcome back. Today, this island is known as Santorini, one of the most beautiful tourist paradises in the world. But 3,600 years ago, it was not called Thera, and it was not a paradise. It was a timed result. The entire crescent-shaped island that we see here, food is just the rim of a ridge. During the Minoan heyday, Thera was a prosperous island, an important currency in their maritime empire. Archaeologists have found here a perfectly preserved Minoan city called Akrotiri. Akrotiri was buried under a thick layer of mountain ash. There, 3-story houses, beautiful calligraphy, pottery, and everyday objects were preserved almost intact. It gave them a true slice of Minoan life. But there was one crucial detail. Not a single skeleton was found on Akrotiri. This meant that the people had been warned. They felt the earthquakes, saw the smoke, and they were able to escape in time. They escaped the mountaintop, but they could not escape its wrath. Around 1600 BC, the hill of Thera erupted. This was no ordinary eruption. This was one of the largest volcanic explosions in human history, hundreds of times faster than the atomic bomb that destroyed Hiroshima. And then, the worst happened. The explosion was inside the crater, creating a void. The water of the Aegean Sea poured into that void, and the main target of those mythical waves, lying right in their path, just 110 kilometers to the south, was the island of Crete. Imagine, you are a Minoan living in a prosperous city. Suddenly, you see the sea recede unexpectedly, revealing the seabed. And then, on the horizon, a wall of water rushing towards you. These mythical waves wiped out the Minoan fleet, the backbone of their economy and military. We had leveled coastal cities, villages, and farms, and the disaster was not over. For days afterward, ash from Thera began to fall on Crete like a toxic rain. It covered the fields, a cardial dormancy, poisoned the water and livestock. The economic shock was unimaginable, but the psychological shock was even greater. For the Minoans, who lived in harmony with nature, this event was nothing short of an apocalypse. Famous positions. Their world had been turned upside down. The empire of the Sea Kings had been razed to the ground. Their fleets had been destroyed. Their agriculture had been destroyed. Their religious beliefs had been shaken to the core. The Minoan world was broken, weakened, and more vulnerable than ever. And from the Greek mainland, another, more post-war people were watching, and they were biding their time. Part 3. Echoes from the Labyrinth. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the final part of the story of the Minoan civilization. In the previous part, we witnessed how the fury of the volcano Thera paralyzed the Minoan world. Now, in that brutality and weakness, a new power emerged. They were the Mycenaeans. The Mycenaeans came from mainland Greece. If the Minoans were artisan merchants, the Mycenaeans were warriors. Their cities, like Mycenae or Tyrants, were protected by city walls, and their tombs were filled with bronze weapons and golden masks of warrior kings, like the legendary Agamemnon mask. And after the Thera explosion, archaeologists found evidence of the Mycenaean presence right here, at Knossos. New graphic styles emerged. Military and war-themed paintings began to replace peaceful natural scenes. And most importantly, the Minoan writing system Linear A disappeared, replaced by a new writing system called Linear B. And Linear B, they deciphered it. It was a primitive form of Greek. The hypothesis is that the Mycenaeans used the demons after the disaster to invade, or simply take over, power in Crete. They ruled the island from the palace of Knossos for several centuries. But even this hybrid Minoan-Mycenaean civilization did not last forever. Around 1000, 100 BC, the entire Bronze Age world in the Mediterranean settled into a mysterious condition known as the Late Bronze Age Collapse. Late Bronze Age Collapse. Crete and the Greek world were plunged into a dark age that lasted hundreds of years. Writing was forgotten. The memory of the great Minoan civilization faded. All that remains are echoes, fragments of memories passed down through the generations and turned into legends. The greatness of the Minoan Empire is remembered through the story of King Minos, a sea king so powerful that he could demand tribute from Athens. The complex of Knossos is remembered as an escape from the labyrinth, and the Minoan ritual of jumping over the back of a sacred bull, perhaps inspired by the horror of the Minotaur, a half-bull, half-man-eating monster. Myth. That is how history is remembered when writing has been forgotten. What was the product of the Minoans? They were not Greeks. They were a unique and brilliant civilization in their own right. They were artists, architects, navigators who created the first advanced society in Europe. Their legacy lies in the vibrant art, the intelligent power-generating architecture, and the culture they left behind for the Greek world to inherit and develop. But their story is also a reminder of the fragility of civilization. The Minoans ruled the sea, but were hidden by the earth. They built a world of beauty, but it was broken in a moment. They disappeared, leaving behind them quiet ruins and a powerful myth, forcing them to continue to piece together their story from the echoes left in the labyrinth of time. Thank you for joining us in this story of a lost world. Goodbye, and see you again in the next history tracking journey.